I think the next leader needs to be somebody that is just hell-bent on getting Trump's agenda done. That is the most important thing. He has a mandate. We've got to get his nominees done. We've got to get his tax cuts in. We've got to get all of his legislation passed. It's as simple as that.
That was Florida Senator Rick Scott with me yesterday here, making the case to be the Senate Majority Leader. The Senate leadership vote will be held later this morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, in 2 secret ballot votes. Senators will be deciding between Rick Scott, John Thune, or John Cornyn. After the first vote, the candidate with the least amount of votes will be eliminated. Then the 2 remaining candidates will face off in a head-to-head to decide the next Majority Leader. All of this to be done in secret, behind closed doors. As of right now, Rick Scott leads in public support from senators, receiving a total of 7 endorsements publicly. Scott recently backed by Tennessee's Marsha Blackburn. So these people have come out publicly to endorse Rick Scott. Others are endorsing John Thune, but they're not going public with it. Joining me now is North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer, a member of the Senate Banking, Armed Services, Veterans Affairs, and Environment and Public Works Committees. Senator, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you, Maria. My pleasure.
And you're supporting John Thune, is that right?
I am.
Why?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, John and I go way back. We were young 30-year-olds, 28-year-olds running the North Dakota and South Dakota Republican parties at a time when there were no Republicans in Congress from either Dakota or Montana. And so we have a long, long history. I trust John. And I also, frankly, like his experience and how the place is run. He has a good sense of how he wants to run it, and he has a good sense of what the opposition will try to do to put up barriers, having been the whip for the last several years. But I'll take any one of the 3 over what we have in Chuck Schumer. And I appreciated the clip from Rick, because I think that's a unanimous sentiment among the 3 of them and the other 50 of us.
When you say a unanimous sentiment, what is the sentiment? That he will be able to push Trump's agenda through?
That whoever it is will be able to push Trump's agenda through, because we're committed to that. We're committed to those same things. We all understand that Donald Trump won in the case of a third of us in the same election that we all won in, and that we're hearing that from our own constituents. But remembering that the majority leader is really more of a railroad engineer than they are a philosopher. And all 3 of them in our meeting last night are committed to the very same things that Rick just talked about. And now it just comes down, I think, more than anything, to style.
Well, I mean, explain that for our viewers, Senator, because not everybody believes that. I mean, look, Mitch McConnell, I don't think, was on that train, right? Mitch McConnell was not in alignment with President Trump. And a lot of people feel that John Thune is very close to Mitch McConnell. Is this going to be another Mitch McConnell situation if John Thune gets it?
Not at all. I mean, John is committed, just like John Cornyn and Rick, to a more distributive, if you will, leadership style, one that recognizes the gifts and talents of all 53 members, not hoards it into one person and runs it more like a dictatorship, a closed shop. All of them are much, much more inclusive in their leadership style. And that's just a matter of fact, just knowing the 3 of them, and also knowing that that's the demand of the people that they're going to lead. A leader needs followers, and I think by mid-morning this morning we'll have a new leader, and we'll all coalesce around that one person, regardless of who it is.
Who's winning so far in your view?
You know, that winning and who's ahead aren't always the same thing, as I often tell my grandsons when they watch the Vikings. But I think, I'd say at this point, that one of the Johns is probably ahead. I think maybe John Thune may have a slight edge. But remembering to your description, this could very well go to a second ballot. And if it does, then the person that was in second could end up in first. And it creates a lot of leverage. But at the end of the day, Maria, really, I can't stress enough how united we are as a conference behind the Trump agenda, behind his leadership. And frankly, we don't have time to buck Donald Trump. One of the things that inspires me so much is that just like us, he learned a lesson from 2017, and that you've got to get these nominees nominated quickly, get the background checks done quickly, set the stage for fast confirmation of all of them. And every one of us is committed to that, including staying longer, longer into the week and into the weekends, working longer days, and all of the things that are required to get done what we need to get done in short order.
Yeah, I don't think Chuck Schumer is on that train either. Outgoing Senator, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is giving this advice to the incoming Republican majority. Watch this.
To my Republican colleagues, I offer a word of caution in good faith. Take care not to misread the will of the people, and do not abandon the need for bipartisanship. After winning an election, the temptation may be to go to the extreme. We've seen that happen over the decades, and it's consistently backfired on the party in power.
Well, that's quite rich, isn't it? Chuck Schumer saying he doesn't want you to abandon the will of the people. The New York Post editorial board is urging Schumer to abandon his rush to confirm Biden-appointed judges and instead bring the bipartisan Anti-Semitism Awareness Act up for a vote in the Senate floor, Senator. So, I mean, what's happening in terms of Chuck Schumer here? Do you believe that the Democrats are going to try to jam things through in this next 60 or 90 days before the inauguration?
Oh, I believe they may try to do that. The beauty of the Senate is that obstruction is one of the gifts that we are given in our system. That said, if they're going to do it, they'll have to do it over a long period of time. I don't think that they may try it. I don't think that they'll succeed at that. But Chuck Schumer, that's a pretty profound statement he just made, and he speaks from experience. The problem is it's insincere. And we all need some bipartisanship for sure, but we've been handed a unified government. That comes with responsibility as well. And the misread of the American public was obvious on Election Day, that the Democrats had misread and continued to misread the will of the public. It was pretty clear, the will of the public on Election Day and Election night, and I don't think we're going to miss that signal at all.
Absolutely. You're spot on there. And, there's that voter out there that is the Jewish voter who really had a red line with Schumer and with the Biden-Harris administration for talking about stopping sending weapons to Israel in the middle of the fight of its life.
Well, and by the way, a great example, the Democrats for far too long, and they still haven't gotten over this, put people in silos. They put demographic groups in silos, and they somehow think that their traditions of voting one way as a group are the way they'll always vote. And the pro-Israel voters are a good example. Certainly black voters are a good example. Women voters are a good example. The idea that we treat people as groups as opposed to individuals in this great system of self-governance is their first mistake. With regard to Israel and some of the other conflicts around the world, I love the way that Donald Trump is stacking up his national security team. He has thrown in a couple of surprises, but when you think about it for 30 seconds, they are clearly in line with Donald Trump, but they're also clearly in line with the fact that deterrence is more than just a weapon system. It's also an attitude, and we've had an attitude of weakness, a projection of weakness. Donald Trump is creating a national security team that projects strength like he does, and with the whole intent of avoiding wars as opposed to responding to these wars. So I like the way it's stacking up right now, Maria.
So do you think the president-elect's picks are going to be passing the nomination process in the Senate? I mean, President-elect Trump nominated Pete Hegseth to serve as the Secretary of Defense. Hegseth is a decorated Army combat veteran who served tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Trump's transition team is also considering a draft executive order would establish a warrior board of retired senior military personnel who will work to get woke policies out of the military. The board will also have the power to review 3- and 4-star officers and can recommend removals or decide if any of them are unfit for leadership. So, Senator, will you vote to confirm Pete Hegseth? And give us your thoughts on this warrior board.
Sure. Well, I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I can hardly wait to talk to Pete. Of course, as you know, he's also a Minnesota Viking fan, comes from Normalville, USA. And so I like Pete. He's one of these guys who is the perfect face for the warrior in the Department of Defense. I think for too long we've had leaders that don't really reflect the warrior. They reflect the politician. I also think, in fairness to 3- and 4-star generals who may appear woke, some of them are, but a lot of them, I think, are a reflection of the political leadership that they salute upstream to, and we have to be careful there. Whether we need a board or not, I'm not so sure, but if you have a guy like Pete Hegseth at the Department of Defense, no question he will surround himself with the right people. He will ferret out, I think, the people that probably need to be disciplined or moved along. I don't know that you need a board. I want to be very careful not to overstep the constitutional bounds of our separation of powers.
Of course, and thank you for that. Real quick, I know there are certain things that Trump can get done without Congress, like deregulation, like extending the tax cuts during a reconciliation period, the deportation effort as well. Where are the areas that this incoming administration is going to need 60 votes in the Senate? What specifically? Is it all the nominees, or is it tariffs, or what, Senator? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so nominees are, of course, one of those areas where the rules have been changed to support nominees and confirm nominees with a simple majority. With budget reconciliation, those are revenue, so tax policy, and appropriations or budgeting. That requires the House and the Senate to reconcile a budget. It's still heavy lifting, but you can do it with a simple majority. With regard to executive orders, that's a little bit dicier, but most of what needs to be done, the highest priority, Maria, right, is that crazy southern border, the open southern border. That was fixed under Donald Trump with existing laws. It was broken under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden under existing laws. There's a lot he can do there, but we need to back that up with appropriations. And appropriations, apart from budget reconciliation, will require 60 votes. So, but there's a lot we can do with reconciliation, a lot we can stop, a lot we can defund, by the way. I think is one area to attack it. So it'll be long days and long weeks.
Now, really informative. I know you've got your work cut out for you, and we appreciate it. And we are going to be watching your Vikings. Thank you, Senator. Kevin Cramer in D.C. Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon.